I can at least I have idea of the video recording at least. So
All right, fine. He
yeah.
struck out. All right, great. All right, so we can definitely get going now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's just fuck it. We'll do it live. Still.
We'll do it live. We'll write it. We'll write it now, and we'll do it live. I'll get the loofah sponge and everything.
Okay. Live.
Welcome to episode 285 of the Gripstrip Podcast. Toyota's Pain is Clyde's Gain edition of the Gripstrip Podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host, watching the New York Yankees play the Boston Red Sox in Game 1 of the Wild Card Series, with the bases loaded, one out, nervously, while my co-host, the iRacing Indy 500 champion, the computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar, and also diehard Jacksonville Jaguars fan, and celebrates a victory from Sunday against my San Francisco 49ers. His name is Josh Fine. What's going on, brother?
Hey, doing great, Phil. Of course. Yeah. I'm watching this wild card game alongside with you here, a little bit ahead on my end, but yeah, there should be an interesting reaction here within the next 5 or so minutes or 10 minutes, whatever, on here, depending on how this finish ends up. But having said that, yeah, Jags win Sunday, pretty big win. So against 49ers, and I guess that makes it easy for us, given that we don't have to talk about them separately. We just be all one topic later on there. And of course, yeah, a lot of that was going on. That race was going on. The race on Sunday, of course, pretty interesting finish there. So yeah, a lot of controversy with 2311 and Toyota over there and everything. And wouldn't be remiss to say that also we do play each other in fantasy this upcoming week on week 5 in the NFL. So that'll be pretty interesting there as well. But yeah, it's wild card games coming down to it, isn't it?
Yeah, we got final out here after Chisholm fouled off a couple and then popped out to right short. So now we got Trent Grisham, who had a career year this year. Never known as a hitter, really, really good fielder. Ball is high. It's ball one. So he's gonna have to work the count on Chapman, because then he'll give him one to go and hit, somewhere. But yeah, I mean, the Kansas race was Denny Hamlin's to win. He was the most dominant car in the field, and then late in the race it went away. His steering went away, and then it led to a confluence of events with late cautions and not calling cautions. On the same weekend, they fired Juice on Hamilton. We can't say why he really was fired, but that's inside. But the NASCAR Kansas usually always has some sort of excitement, and this was yet another exciting finish. It saw Denny Hamlin probably put his driver, Darrell Walsh Jr., who was battling to try and basically come from the bottom of the playoff back into the playoff, out, and in the process losing out on a 60th win, which would have tied him with Kevin Harvick, and then in turn allowing William Clyde Elliott II to go and get the victory, give Chevy and Hendrick Motorsports a victory, and he strikes out to end the game. That's cute. They go and get what was it? Took, I think, about 4 pitches, and they got the bases loaded. and then you have freaking you have Chisholm and that crappy at bat, and then I mean Grisham in that spot was never going to be a great situation, but oh well.
Oldest
I mean
Chapman.
the bullpen blew that freaking game. I don't know, decision to go with Weaver um was probably the wrong one. I think you go with I mean, even though Weaver has been a little better recently, I mean that was just a terrible, terrible job by freaking Jazz Chisholm, but whatever. All right. To come back tomorrow, you got to win too, or else you're gonna get sent by your biggest rival. So, oh well. Yeah, we'll get into Cup and Xfinity at Kansas last week. We'll get into week 4, which included, well, of course, Jags winning in Santa Clara. For whatever reason, the Niners wearing. Another thing that made me mad was the fact they're wearing their white jerseys. I'm like, why the hell are you wearing your white jerseys at home? And they're not the throwback white jerseys, at least. That was garbage too. Get into fantasy, a lot of injuries, of course, this weekend. Um, so get into that. Roundup includes NHRA, Moto 2. Marquez gets his 7th world championship. Good for him. While Pecco Bagnaia finally gets his bike in a position where he actually feels good on it. Only took 3/4 of a season. And gets a dominant victory from pole. WEC was at Fuji last week. World Superbikes were in Aragon. And then the F1 Academy will be back racing in Singapore, which leads into the Singapore Grand Prix for Formula One. One of the more challenging and interesting races of the season every year. And then we'll preview and make picks for the Charlotte Roval, who gets eliminated in the series, each one of the 3 major series, and who will win, of course, those 3 races. Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing, Gaming, and Sim segment, and we will call it a day. But first, we will go to the Cup Series Hollywood Casino 400, a race that honestly, before the race started, the Penske cars had a lot of issues in qualifying. All had to start tailback. You had that going on. You had Hendrick cars were up front, along with a lot of Toyotas. Chase Briscoe getting his 7th career pole. The LA Dodgers leading off the game, I think, with a home run. That's great. With fucking Otani. I need to turn this off. I might start cursing at the TV. I already am. Put it back on hockey. I might be happier. Put it back on preseason hockey. Yeah, Denny Hamlin dominated the race. He was on the front row, making Briscoe work for it. Briscoe fell back, kind of just was laying in the weeds for a good amount of the day. Bell had a really good race car. It was a Toyota benefit for the most part. When you look at the leads, the amount of laps led, between Denny Hamlin, Chris Bell, Chase Briscoe, and Darrell Wallace Jr., they led the vast majority of the 273 laps that were run. 7 additional laps of green, white, checkered overtime laps there. Clyde was the leader. Otherwise, Clyde and Larson led, 57 laps between the two of them. Notch and Nacho Libre led 6. Brad Keselowski, yeah. So there, you had a few guys led about 60 something laps. The rest of the race was over 200 plus laps were led by Toyotas. But once it came down to all those green white checkers, late cautions, yeah. Also, did he have with mechanical problems? The steering went away. I'm not sure if he gave any more details, Josh, on his pod. There are greater things that he had to discuss on his pod after that result, but Clyde, who's had a very quiet year this year, been very consistent, but his fan base has been very loud about oh my god, what did they do? They superimposed their heads on the Backstreet Boys. Oh man. But with when it comes to uh, this race, I mean, Toyota had it. I think they were by far the more dominant. I mean, it was Denny Hamlin's race. He wins both stages, leads the most laps, should have won it. The mechanical problem happens, and then late race restarts happen, and all bleep breaks loose. It started with debris in turn 4 with a cut tire. I think it was Kyle Busch. Then there was a wreck on the ensuing restart with Hocevar and Buscher. Hocevar spun and then basically got stuck on the track because all his tires were flat. Instead of him just straight locking it down and towards the wall. He got high-sided on the banking. Then there was the multi-car incident that saw Zane Smith wall grinding literally like he was on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater after John Hunter Nemechek sent him for no reason. Must have watched Tristan McKee driving like a bitch. But from Martinsville the night before or a couple nights before. But in all of that, then they get that final restart. It was Bell and Wallace side by side battling each other, which then allowed Briscoe and Hamlin to get into it. And then Clyde was on 4 tires. Gustafson with the call to go with 4. Made up a lot of ground the previous restart, then was up there, put himself in a position to make that restart that he needed to make. And in the end, Josh William Clyde Elliott II is locked into the round of 8 to put himself in position to possibly get a second championship, along with one of his close friends, YRB, who locked himself in the previous week. But I mean, he earned it there late, and his team with good pit stop, and Gustafson with a good pit decision. But he had to go up there and make up 10 spots, or there, I think, somewhere around there, in 2 restarts to go and put himself in that position. But I guess the greater discussion, other than Clyde's win, will be about Denny Hamlin in general after that result. And of course, Bubba, I think, handled it about as well as I think he ever has handled an interview that wasn't a winner's interview. Considering the situation. But yeah, it's going to be quite a couple of weeks, I think. This whole week is going to be quite nerve-wracking. A lot of Toyota controversy these last couple of weeks involving Denny Hamlin. And this one is because he let one go and fit a narrative that has kind of existed for the past 15 years about him. I mean, you take it whichever way you want to go, but those are the two main keys, I think, right, in terms of that deal was Clyde coming out and getting a close. He's not been winning a lot of races in these last few years either, since this next gen car came along. So this, I think, is a big step forward and big momentum for him and his team. While Denny Hamlin now has to recover and reset towards the round of 8, he hopes. And the likely scenario of one or both of his race cars not making the final 8 after what transpired at Kansas.
Yeah, and for start off with, for Chase Elliott, obviously he's been extremely, uber consistent throughout the year, and has one of the best average finishes of any driver in the field, and just hasn't had the wins to go along with it this season. But he's been up there. He's had good finishes. Yeah, his fans and everybody have raised a lot of hell, raised a lot of noise about the decisions, because some of the races where he's ran up front, or been in the top 5, but then they fade and have finishes outside the top 15 and etc. But Kansas, they made the right decision to go pit at the end of the race, and they were able to kind of take advantage of the cautions that happened there, with Zane Smith going up along the wall there, and then Denny Hamlin, controversial decision to try to pass Bubba Wallace there in turn 3 and 4 and go out there and win the race. So yeah, Chase locked into the round of 8. I'm gonna have to look back at our podcast with Joe to see, because I didn't actually write it down, where we had Chase finishing. So I feel like I had Chase getting eliminated here in the round of 12, but I could be wrong, and I'd have to go back and look at that. But yeah, he's into the round of 8, so I mean, based on speed, it's not really a surprise at all for him. They, on speed, I think they've been really good, and I think this playoff run they've been fairly good as well. Both him and Larson, they're from the Hendrick camp. They've on speed, they've been seemingly they've looked the better of the 2 Hendrick cars, or the 3 Hendrick cars that are still in it. So yeah, that's their, for Elliott. But on the other hand, for Denny, the decision whether you go for the win there, or you let your car that you own win the race to get himself higher, to potentially put himself in a position to be in the championship. Mind you, while they're still in a lawsuit against NASCAR, the possibility of them competing for the championship, while that's happening, there's that storyline going on, obviously, right? But then, Denny Hamlin doing Denny Hamlin things, ego kind of taking over there. And, I was reminded of that because there was a clip of him from 2021 where they were at Homestead, and they had a late race, or not late race restart, but a restart before the stage ending, and they went into turn 3, and Denny just floored it into turn 3 and ran Martin Truex Jr. up the track, and that allowed and almost put him in the wall there, and that allowed William Byron to take the bottom and just pass him before the finish line to win the stage. So that was another example, actually, of Denny Hamlin going out and screwing him and another Toyota teammate over, and allowing a Hendrick or a Chevy to win a stage or a race there. So yeah, he's definitely had it in his history for sure. And you could even say the lawsuit is really just, I think it's also Michael Jordan, but yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised. Denny's kind of in a, his ego there, is despised, as it was said, against him and the France family, if that's part of it as well, fueling the the desire to go after NASCAR there. And not that I don't disagree with it, but the likelihood of them winning, we don't know how well that's going to go down. But No, just saying that there's ego there as well. But yeah, in this race here, yeah, I do think also though there's certainly a possibility where maybe he could have done a better job of going into the final corners without running up the car that you own into the up the track up into the wall there. So uh but he went for the aggressive move there at the end to try and just go full send into the corner there. On the other hand, Bubba Wallace, is there a possibility where Bubba Wallace, maybe he could see that coming, where Denny's going to take the inside hard, and instead of side drafting him hard, does he try to like back out and let Denny overrun the corner there, like in a split second, like back out in a split second, let Denny Hamlin overrun the corner and just take him back on the inside, you know? Um, but I don't know if that's, in this car, if that's even, you can even really do that because, with the momentum, you have to be, almost wide open to keep the momentum there, and certainly letting off and trying to, let him just overrun the corner and you kind of come back on the inside, kind of reverse over under, I guess. It's probably pretty hard. And, Denny also doesn't have a car. If there's not a car on the outside, it's certainly easier to just, flat out the corner there, in turn 3 and 4. So, yeah, there's definitely multiple possible ways of how that finish could have happened without screwing yourself or your driver over, letting somebody else win there. But I mean, in terms of Denny, like in the rest of the playoffs, yeah, I mean, I don't think he really. I mean, certainly from a controversy standpoint, a mental standpoint, I guess maybe reset. But from playoff standpoint, I mean, he's like plus 48 to the cutoff, so I mean, he's completely fine in terms of that, and shouldn't. I mean, as long as nothing catastrophic happens at the Roval, I mean, he should be fine. To advance into the round of 8, and then all he's got to do is win one of the round of 8 races, and he's clinched to the final 4. So there isn't, from Denny's standpoint, there's not really much to do. But on the other hand, if Bubba won that race, then that cutoff line actually gets shorter there for him. He'd only be like plus 20 to the cut line, and I think in that standpoint. But for Bubba, this definitely would have been a huge win for him to move on to the round of 8, and certainly gone farther than he has ever gone in his career in the playoffs, to make it to the round of 8, and certainly have a shot at going to the championship 4 would have been a lot more likely. Now he has to go to the Roval, and I mean, he's been improved on road courses, but still very uphill battle there. Minus 26, gained 1 point to the cut line there. So yeah, for 2311, I mean, Tyler Reddick hasn't really been good on speed. He had a good finish there, finishing 7th, but just hasn't been as good. And it goes to show, I mean, for Bubba, had a good race here, but previous race at New Hampshire, obviously completely out to lunch there, and had a poor finish. So they just weren't able to get on the same page. And they were bad at the beginning of this race. They did not have a good car at the beginning, and they made a lot of improvements to get up to the front there to be in position to win. So obviously, yeah, 23 has been really good on speed and being able to recover in certain in this instance. But yeah, for Bubba, now uphill battle going into the Roval, so he's going to need to have a lot of chaos to happen for him, which could or could not happen here at the Roval. The next gen at the Roval has been kind of 50-50 on whether chaos really happens there. So we'll see. But yeah, the rest of the guys, I mean, yeah, Chase Briscoe could have had a shot there at the end too. Larson was up there for a little bit, but not really. But he's probably safe too. But some of these other guys, I mean, Ryan Blaney had a kind of up and down weekend. Was in the wall in practice, but he's locked in, so I guess it doesn't matter. who's Cindric didn't have a good weekend. Got caught up in or I guess got caught up in one of the accidents there towards the end. So, um, Chastain needed probably a better finish to have a better position, but he's still of the drivers. I mean, he still has a shot to make it in there. So, to the round of 8. So, yeah, it's starting to get tight for a lot of these guys here in the playoffs. Shout out to Shane Van Gisbergen, 10th place finish there. So he's definitely improving there. So this playoff field starting to tighten up here. Of course, with the Roval coming up, it's definitely going to be an interesting one there. And certainly there's an opportunity for any of the guys not named Shane Van Gisbergen that are in the playoffs. Certainly an opportunity there to get a win and lock themselves into the round of 8. But it was definitely from a playoff standpoint, a very chaotic race, and Zane Smith there at the end. I mean, it was we've seen that before, but haven't seen that in a long time. Where guy got ran into a wall and got on his side there. I was like Martin Truex at Bristol, or Richmond a few years ago, or 20 years ago. Jason Leffler, I think, 2007 Bristol, but haven't seen that like on a mile and a half where guy got just wall riding literally like that, and then tumbling down the banking there at the end of the race. But pretty chaotic ending there to the race there at Kansas on Sunday.
Yeah, and it was one that Denny will probably have to go through for a while. And Bubba, in his situation, knowing that he probably is not going to go out there and win on Sunday to guarantee a spot at the Roval. It's asking a lot for him. So trying to get multiple wins, like you brought up, advancing further he ever has. First multiple win season of his career too, if that was the case, if he had gotten it done. There's a bunch of things that could have happened there. It would have totally flipped the points. It would have made it a total sweat at the Roval. I mean, he is my second favorite driver, but when your favorite driver was going to be 1 point above the cut line, if at one point, if it had went a certain way there, it was definitely a sweat. But we'll see what happens, I guess. For Toyota, they're having to do meetings and be like, all right, Keebler Gibbs, I mean, while he's a douche, they basically let that all kind of disappeared randomly. How, of course, that pussy didn't want to even talk to the media. That also was there. But Hamlin basically took it on the chin for the sake of, I guess, the brand, and then decided to double down and then take his own guy or take his own driver out. And I mean, in the process of all of that, also, I mean, we'd be remiss, Tyler Reddick didn't have a great car and was able to kind of salvage a finish, but of course his little baby rookie going through some health situations, health concerns. This was brought up by Alexa, his wife, late on Sunday. So obviously, or on Sunday, I think it was Sunday afternoon, somewhere around there. And so the fact that Tyler was going out there, he was driving for his son. And I think that did affect him a bit too. I mean, they didn't have a good car, of course, like Josh mentioned, but I'm sure that didn't help. But our prayers are to the Reddick family, of course, right now. I mean, hopefully Rookie will be all right. It looks like he was in a lot better spirits and feeling better after, I think, a blood transfusion, couple other things. So hopefully more progress for for rookie. It's the same kind of thing for Robert Wickens and um, and his wife. Why am I forgetting? Carly. And they're twins. They were premature, so their their twins are starting to, you know, they're growing. They're getting a little healthier, getting bigger. So, you know, a lot of, I guess, bringing reality into what we use as an escape of racing, to brings things back to perspective, for sure. A random transition from cars to babies, but William Clyde Elliott II led 7 playoff drivers and 8 of the first 9. Elliott, Hamlin, Bell, Briscoe, Wallace, your top 5. Larson, Reddick, Brad Keselowski, best non-playoff driver, multi-time winner at Kansas. Byron, who was dog shit for most of the day, and I think those late cautions salvaged his situation because he was going to lose. He was in position to lose, I think, about half his points gap, if things had kind of ran out the way they were running. And I think he was in position to lose a lap before the caution that came out. The caution that involved, I believe, the 44. I believe the caution that involved the 44 was what saved him from going a lap down. So
Yeah.
it turned, and the last 50 laps, his race totally flipped, and he was able to salvage. And that could be the run that, eventually gets him to the final 4. Josh mentioned SVG. Guy was a lap down, had to go and stop and go penalty at the start of the race. Steven Doran was sent home, so he's going to be gone for, I don't know, a couple weeks or whatever. So sent home, had to stop and go penalty, was a lap down, did not get the free pass on the initial caution. So he had to come from that and came back to finish 10th. So that was all car. He was the best of the Trackhouse guys. All 3 Trackhouse cars seem to be relatively competitive. But Chastain wasn't as good as he has been at Kansas in the past. Todd Gilliland making up for, I guess, picking up the slack for Zane Smith. That was kind of where Zane Smith was running. Ty Dillon finished 13th? The fuck? Michael McDowell also had a stop and go penalty and came back, finished 14th. So Logano 21st, had a few stage points, but a throwaway weekend like Josh had mentioned for all the Penske guys. Blaney was running better than he finished. I think he was going to salvage a top 15 out of it. Instead, he finishes 24th. Cindric finishes 30th and now is really up against it points-wise. So we'll see what happens. I didn't know ESPN bet was... Oh, no one... Well, it's because it was on NBC. Didn't even know that. All right. Points heading into the Roval, we got 2 cars locked in. Larson plus 54, Hamlin plus 48, Bell plus 44, and Byron plus 40. Well, essentially, the bottom has to fall out for any of them to really have any sweat. Briscoe's plus 21, Logano's plus 13 over Ross Chastain. Then you have minus 26 is Bubba Wallace, minus 29's Reddick, minus 48 Austin Dillon. Chastain really is the only person that really has a chance points-wise. It's those 3 guys, I think, the 19, 22, and 1 on that mode. And then the other 3 guys have to race in on a win. We'll move to the Xfinity race. which was the Kansas Lottery 300. And it was a like the Cup race in a lot of ways. It was a Toyota, but I mean, it wasn't a full-on Toyota benefit, but there were Toyotas up front to start the day. Two Toyotas on the front row, and Buckshot Jones and Taylor Gray. And you had other Toyotas like Dean Thompson got a top 10 start. Random people, but the top two guys in the points, the two dominant figures in this series, Justin Allgaier won both stages. Connor Zilic got top fives in both stages. There wasn't really a lot here in the grand scheme, but Buckshot Jones was able on the essentially after the last restart, which was precipitated by him when he got into it with Nick Sanchez. But the fact of the matter is, for Buckshot Jones, the guy is pretty ass, but just like Cam Ward said about his Tennessee Titans, but for a guy that's pretty lame ass and is just a daddy's money guy, he's won 3 times at Kansas now. Locked himself into the next round, led the second most laps on the day. So Buckshot Jones, the winner, Zilic second, breaking a record that was held by the late great Sam. I think it was Jack Ingram.
Sam Ard.
Or Sam Ard. Okay, I'm like, I felt like it was Sam. So it was going to be one of the two because they're the two legends that's were the foundation of what is now the Xfinity and will be the what is it, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series next year. So thank you for that. So yeah, he advances with his victory. Zilic, and I mentioned Allgaier ended up finishing 13th. Pit strategy didn't work out in his favor, but both of those guys have advanced through points, so there are only 5 spots left. Hank Hill, Sammy Smith, Sheldon Creed, Taylor Gray, Jesse Love, Nick Sanchez, Brendan Butterbean Queen, who started 4th, finished 9th, and then Dean Thompson rounds out your top 10. So Wallace 11th, Daniel Dye from tailback finished just ahead of Allgaier. Quapple was 15th, Mayer 16th, Caruth started 8th, finished 18th. Harrison Burton was a lap down, along with Caruth, Ryan Sieg there. There were 17 cars on the lead lap. Harrison Burton was 20th. The 19 car had Justin Bonsignor, and he got in a wreck. So, yeah, I mean, there was only 2 cautions for cause. It was Jeb Burton spinning on lap 59, and then soon after the stage first at the start of stage 2, and then the spin incident between the 19. I mixed him up with Buckshot Jones. Okay, the 19 and the 48. That saw Bonsignor fall out of the race. But yeah, Buckshot Jones getting the win. And a mostly a very playoff heavy top. The vast majority of the playoff guys were in the top 16. For the exception, I think 11 of the 12 there. 11 of the top 16 were playoff guys, and the top 8 were playoff guys. So Jones going out there, he's always there's certain tracks. I think it's Kansas, Phoenix, Martinsville,
Arlington.
and Darlington. Those are really those four tracks, right? And then after that, I don't know. But Buckshot gets out there and now has given himself an opportunity for that final four. I mean, I think we already know two of the final four for all intents and purposes, but what those other two guys are going to be is still in play, though. But I think Buckshot Jones has definitely put himself in position to have a chance come Martinsville or here in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, he's put himself in a good position there. Obviously winning that race, which this is of the tracks to win Buckshot. I'm Brandon Jones. Goes out and is able to win here, second win of 2025, which funny enough, first win came at Darlington, which again, felt like a track that he just randomly somehow wins at. But he got the win there. Zilich, it seemed like Zilich was, I mean, he led 42 laps, but it seemed like he had a fairly poor handling race car throughout the day and just didn't have race winning speed there to be able to catch Brandon Jones there, because Brandon Jones opened up a pretty good gap there by the end of that race to win. So, and the restart, they had the final restart after the incident with Bonsignor and Nick Sanchez. I think Zilich was able to keep up with him for a handful of laps, got passed by Austin Hill, repassed him, but just never was able to really close in on Brandon Jones and try to make a move there. So, he had a pretty good handling car there at the end, and everything. So, good recovery there for Zilich, all things considered there for him. So, obviously, no pressure to clinch for I think he's virtually locked in, 85 to the cut line here for this first round. So no pressure there for Zilich to have a need to be in a winning scenario for the Roval, obviously. But for a lot of these guys, it was playoff heavy there. Allgaier led the most laps there at that race, but faded back to outside the top 10. So that might be something to look here, later on in a couple of races. If Allgaier kind of has this trend where it seems like he has had some races this year where he led a ton of laps, but they've faded in the the final running order there. So I'll have to look at that, but he again have no problems next week as well for the Roval there. So Austin Hill, of course, on the outside looking in for the cut line, and he's been good guy on road courses, so still could be a threat to win there potentially. But I mean, obviously, otherwise, this race, pretty uneventful. Otherwise, if the incident with Bonsignor and Nick Sanchez didn't happen, which seemed like that one, there was, I don't know, I won't say an intentional or anything, but definitely seemed like maybe Nick Sanchez could have handled that one better in that one. But if that didn't happen, then been fairly uneventful here, and a lot of green flag racing there. So for playoff guys at the top of the running order, they did great. Even guys like that were at the bottom of the playoff running order, like Sammy Smith, last car on the playoff order, and definitely would need a win to make it into the final or into the round of 8 here for Xfinity. He had a top 5 finish, barely edging out Sheldon Creed there for 4th. So definitely good finish there for him. Carson Kvapil finished 15th there, so I don't think he should have any issues, but did come in the news here recently that next year it looks like he's going back to, or going to be demoted, I guess, to part-time with Connor Zilich and crew chiefing with Rodney Childers there. So unfortunate there for him, but I guess the sponsorship package didn't have enough for him to sell a full season. Apparently that's the reasoning from Dale Jr., as he said on his show earlier today. But unfortunate there for Carson, because I think he's extremely talented, but just hasn't had the uh, fortune that Connor has had in the '88 car. So it's interesting there with the guy with more late model stock car experience, just hasn't had put together a whole season like what Zilich has for the most part. So kind of interesting how that dynamic has played, and certainly next year we'll have a opportunity to learn with the really good crew chief and Rodney Childers there. So yeah, very top heavy race here, and yeah, Brandon Jones. I mean, he could be an outside shot for the final, for the final four here in the Xfinity Series. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But he randomly just wins at like Martinsville, which obviously had a shot a couple of years ago with Ty Gibbs took away from him, or potentially Talladega or Las Vegas. So there's definitely those possibilities there. So might have to consider that as one of the guys that could contend for the title at Phoenix here in about a month. So we'll have to see. But yeah, otherwise, it was a fairly uneventful race for the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, and can't always have good ones, so we'll let it go. And they'll probably have a lot of adventures this coming weekend. Mayor plus 43, so really the only one of those I think is really safe. 3 drivers locked in. Taylor Gray is the first one kind of in play, plus 16. Sheldon Creed plus 12. Carson Kvapil plus 9. Jesse Love plus 5 over Nick Sanchez. Minus 7. Off the cut line is Hank Hill. Minus 8 is Harrison Burton, and he's not known as a road racer, never really has been a road racer, a good road racer, even when he was at Gibbs for all those years in the Xfinity Series. And then Sammy Smith is minus 14. Now, that's not insurmountable, but Sammy Smith, another person that isn't really known as a road racer. So we'll see what can happen. But there's a lot of volatility basically from 5th through 12th, I think. Huge amount of volatility. So that Xfinity race is going to be, I think, very exciting to watch. And every position really is going to matter there for sure. So, yes, let's move on to NFL. I mean, for me in fantasy, I went 1-2 this past week, and that was largely due to garbage time productivity by Justin Fields, because he threw, I think, what is it? He had a touchdown on the ground, and he also had a touchdown on a passing touchdown to Garrett Wilson late.
Yeah.
He had 81 yards on the ground, actually. Is
Yeah,
it too
most of
late
that.
for?
No, what are you saying?
Is it too late for him to just turn into a running back? Because that's basically what he is, anyways. I mean, he didn't turn the ball over. He fumbled the ball once. I thought he threw an interception, but they said they turned the ball over. They lost the battle on turnovers. Dobbins got me 17 points as well, so a good combination there. The Denver game was not really a game. It never really was a game. That was the only one. I mean, McConkey has been terrible the last few weeks. Pearsall got hurt because, of course, he's a 49er. I think if you're a 49er fan, you just have some sort of soft tissue injury too. I have a pinched nerve in my neck and a couple other ailments going on too. So I guess I should blame that on the 49ers. I might as well. I've been a 49er fan most of my life. I'll just blame it on the 49ers that I may have suffered because of bowling, but I'm just going to blame it because I'm a 49er fan. I also think probably the ulcer that I'm going to end up getting eventually will come from watching the 49ers play football, or at least their offensive line. Josh will get to um, talk about how his Jaguars just, in all facets of the game, outplayed the 49ers. Um, I mean, when it came to Brock Purdy, was rusty, did not look good, did not feel good. It just wasn't his usual self. You know, when you don't really have great play from your offensive line outside of a guy who was a first ballot Hall of Famer and arguably one of the greatest of all time, that's a problem. And when you're trying to get the guy killed, so that Mac Jones will go back out there. It's not a winning. I don't think it's a winning strat, but whatever. Um, Lost to the other two games in fantasy. I lost last week to in by what is that, 6 points, 5 points? Yeah, it was like less than 5 points. So um, tough loss there. Low scoring matchup. And then in the third league, that auto draft league or whatever I was in, I was up against it, lost for the first time. Um, so I mean that's whatever. 3-1 in that league, 2-2 um, in the faithful to the Bay with that team. I'm sixth in that league. I think I'm still in first place in that, or I'm second place now. And then in Brawl, I'm in seventh. My total points is dead last. So my team does suck. It's close, but it's pretty. The only team that I'm really close points wise with at the moment is Jeff's, and he's tailback. So yeah, I mean, fantasy wise, not great for my main team, but in the end, and then the 49ers was a terrible, pathetic performance, and they get to go and go to Levi South this Thursday night against the Rams. We don't know who's going to play. I'm starting to think Jerry Rice might come out of retirement and play at wide receiver, because we're starting to get down to maybe we need to call John Taylor. Maybe Kyle Shanahan. He used to be a wide receiver once upon a time in college. Maybe he'll suit up to be on offense.
Player coach.
Maybe they need to call some of the guys that were on the Texas offensive line. Maybe they'll block that for him and Chris Sims, because they need somebody that can block on the right side, for fuck's sake. Because then Jared Verse will go and take somebody's head off. But I mean, for you, Josh, I mean, that was a game I had a bad feeling about it for days after that Arizona game the week before for the 49ers. And that defense is really, really deadly, to the point where if the offense could actually could put things together with Liam Cohen, with some of those great skill position players you have there, that's a division winning team. I think that's a team that can win a division. And you never know what happens once you get to wild card weekend. Um, the way things are going, you have Cincinnati's basically gone. Baltimore's scuffling at the moment. You look at some of the other contenders. Kansas City has not looked like themselves, how they have been for the last few years. The Chargers just took an L, albeit on a road game to the East Coast. Denver is kind of wishy-washy. So opportunity is there. Outside of, I think, Buffalo, really, And I think that there's a lot of opportunity there for the Jaguars if they can get things together as the year goes on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there. I mean, obviously the defense playing extremely well, turnovers wise, at least. I mean, I think run defense is pretty good up there too, and it's really hard to grade pass defense because like yardage wise, they're I think middle of the league or towards like the bottom, not the bottom, but in the I guess third quarter of the league. But at the same time, you grade pass defense on how effective you are in certain situations. I think more than just gross yardage there, and I think in situations where you needed pass defense, I think for the most part they played really well on Sunday. Obviously, turnovers, forced fumbles. By the Jaguars. Devin Lloyd had 2 interceptions on Sunday, and I mean, low key he might be a player that I mean he should be nominated for some kind of award, whether it's an All Pro, because he's been playing at a really good level here this season, and it's interesting because I mean he's in a contract year, but same time the past couple of seasons there's been times where he looked like he was lost on the field. And the rookie year had a couple of impact plays early on, but it seemed like as that season went on and the last couple of seasons had went on, it seemed like he just wasn't being able to put it all together on the field, tackling coverage wise. But this year, just playing completely out of his mind. I don't know if it's a scheme that just fits him better than previous schemes and allows him to play, I guess, with more feeling or whatever, but he's definitely been playing lights out right now on the field. So really excited to see how his season continues to progress there and everything. The defense otherwise, I mean, Josh Allen affected the quarterback, Eric Armstead, of course, game sealing forced fumble by him there, so he got the game ball at the end. Trayvon Walker got hurt early on. That was only, I think, defense that was maybe on the real negative side, as they had a starting defensive end there with a wrist injury. So not sure he's going to be able to play on Monday night versus Kansas City. I think we'd really prefer to have him on there if possible. But defensively, they put up a really good game with all the turnovers, which I think that's what matters, being able to turn over the ball a lot. And last year, of course, I think they didn't even have 10 total turnovers for the entire season, and now they've already got 13, and they've got, I think, the most amount of turnovers that they've had like in a whole season up to this point, period. So they've been playing really well on that front there. Offensively, I mean, just continue to run the ball. I mean, Travis Etienne ran the ball quite well, and showing why they didn't give up on him this season with the new coaching staff. Passing wise, I think Trevor Lawrence is effective for the most part. 3rd and 15 early on, went for it, gave it to Travis Hunter there, which finally had a impacting play with him going up for that ball and coming down with it. Really, really tough catch. Was able to come through with it. So finally, people talking about Travis Hunter not making impact plays for the Jags. Well, made one there that was really good. Later on, they tried to get him and called an interception at first, but they called it back, which I don't know how you felt about that with that pass interference, which I wasn't sure if that was pass interference or not, but Trevor kind of got lucky a little bit there. Definitely, that was probably one you don't need to be throwing there, but he was fairly effective, I think, for the most part. Towards the end, I mean, the slide on the end of the game like kind of slid, but they looked like he went out of bounds, and they called it out of bounds. Just slide a yard early there and everything, and just don't let them give the benefit of the doubt to where they call it as a out of bounds play. But of course, next place able to get it to the tight end for the game clinching third down conversion there. So yeah, for Trevor, decent game I think. Numbers wise, yeah, it's whatever. But they won the game there, and obviously special teams played well, kind of helped pull away there with Parker Washington just going out and getting a punt return touchdown there. So really good blocking there, and obviously he's got the wheels to be able to do it there. So yeah, great game all around him. And of course, like we were talking about beforehand, I honestly thought that should have been a bigger game, but in terms of points, at least 30 points. But Jacksonville, they had some issues offensively with penalties and whatnot in the third quarter that kind of let the 49ers hang around. So if they can clean up the penalties, the holding and everything like that, the illegal shifts that have kind of cost them in the first part of the season here, if they can clean that up, I think you can really see them put together some points, some drives, and be able to put points. And hopefully this upcoming game here, the against the Chiefs on Monday night, it's got a similar feeling to 6 years ago they were on playing the Chiefs, not on Monday night, but it was a nationally or mostly nationally televised game that year, and Jags completely imploded, and that was like basically the goodbye to the 2017 era Jags there. That was the start of it. So now here, week 5, big game to go out and kind of, I think we proved a lot here in this game against the 49ers, but if you can beat Patrick Mahomes at home like that, I think that's going to be pretty good statement win for Jacksonville there. So me personally, I was kind of stressed throughout a lot of that game, especially the third quarter. Like, got a little stressed because I was like, just put away, just pull away from this and put these guys away. But let them hang around there for a good part of that second half there. So glad to see him get the win there, of course. And yeah, the coaching comments there by Bob Sala. I thought that was completely unprompted to say, like, yeah, they're kind of cheating, and then but they're doing it legally. And then Shanahan said, well, he was trying to give him a compliment there, and then they asked him, well, do you guys do that? And he's like, no, we play fair. And I'm like, well, why'd you have to say that? So good on Liam Cohen to basically say keep your name out of your freaking mouth there. So basically telling the rest of the league, yeah, don't mess with us there. So that was good on Liam to stand up there for his name and the rest of the team there. And to me, it's like in racing, like SVG. They've been doing really good on road courses this year, and it's like, oh, somebody in one of the guys in the field says, well, yeah, they're doing some tricks to their car to make him go in really fast and everything. And I'm like, nah, he's doing really good just on his own talent. And Jags have done really good, just on being really good coached and having, at least good talent all around on the offensive and defensive lines. So, yeah, just a completely bizarre comments there, and definitely, added fuel to the fire to bulletin board material, as they say. So, yeah, good on Liam to go out there and win the game first for the team, and then also just at the end, just kind of making sure he said don't do that again to Bob Sala there. So yeah, we'll see here Monday Night Football next week against Kansas City at home. So hopefully it's a sold out game. Hopefully it's more teal than red. I know that's a problem here in Florida with not just Jags, but there was a clip of the Bucks game with a lot of people in that lower bowl section that were wearing Philadelphia colors there. So I know that's an issue in Florida for whatever reason, and I think other stadiums too, not just Florida. But hopefully there's more teal than red on Monday night there.
Yeah, we will see, and I think that's an interesting game considering what Kansas City's been doing this year. It's a much more winnable contest than it probably has been in the past. But of course, Worthy is back now. Thornton. I mean, they have different players there. Still haven't really established a run. Tight ends, of course. Taylor Swift's fiance is just out there, basically as a decoy. So I mean, it's interesting, but Kermy is still what he is. So it's gonna you have to contain him. You have to hit him. If you don't, he will make you pay. It's been his whole entire goddamn career. Um, and with other teams, I mean, I guess let me look at briefly because I was looking up stuff for the roundup, which will be coming up here momentarily. Um, it says, okay, so both Purdy and Pearsall questionable for um, the game on Thursday. So that's lovely. Um, Current standings, the nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Good job, Boomer. They are the only 4-0 team in the AFC right now. Steelers, Colts, Jags, and Chargers are all 3-1. Of course, the Chargers just lost their first game of the season. Colts also to the Rams, and they did not look competitive really in that game at times. Steelers had their way in with Minnesota in Ireland, as Sal the stockbroker would say. Um, Ravens right now are 1-3. Patriots are going to be playing the Bills on Sunday Night Football this coming weekend. So huge matchup there. Jags, of course, they're in the division. They got a 2-game lead on Houston right now, which is a big deal. Then you have the Chargers have they have the tie break. They have the 1-game lead on Kansas, and that was after they beat them week 1 in Brazil. Broncos also are 2-2. So in the NFC, the Eagles only 4-0 team, 2-game lead on Washington. Of course, they're still waiting on Jaden Daniels to come back. The Cowgirls and Green Bay tied on Sunday Night Football last week, giving what is it, quarter game? I don't know how that 3/4 of a game lead or half like a quarter of a game lead on to the Detroit Lions, who are at 3-1, along with the Buccaneers, who lost for the first time last week to the Eagles. And then the Niners, Seahawks, and Rams are all 3-1, with the Cardinals at 2-2. So I actually could make an argument best division in the league at the moment early on is the West, NFC West. And then of course Seahawk or San Francisco and the Rams will be playing this coming weekend. On Thursday. Then you have Minnesota, Cleveland, and London. Houston, Baltimore. One of those teams is going to fall to 1-4. Miami, Carolina, same deal. Las Vegas and Indianapolis. New Orleans is 0-4, hosting the Giants. The Giants with Jackson Dart trying to win 2 consecutive games. Cowgirls going to MetLife to play the Jets. Jets are 0-4 at the moment. There are, Jets, Titans, and Saints are the 3 on the winless teams. Philadelphia will be hosting Denver, coming 2 time zones across to play Philly on a short week. Arizona will be hosting Tennessee That's a bad situation there. Tampa Bay will be on the road in Seattle. That should be a good game. Then you have Detroit and Cincinnati. That won't be a good game. And then Washington depends on if Jaden Daniels is back with Chargers. They'll want to recover after the loss last week. And then Buffalo, New England mentioned, and then Josh mentioned Monday Night Football hosting Kermit and the Chiefs. We will move forward. We'll into the roundup here. NHRA was at St. Louis last week. The Brittany Force ended up running 340 miles an hour again because, of course, she would win second for consecutive FlexGen Factory Stock Showdown title for Mark Powick. That's great. That's awesome, Mark Powick. For years was in the pro stock category, and was able to be competitive in there. And in terms of the Midwest Nationals, the Napa Auto Parts Midwest Nationals, the Top Fuel was won by Doug Coletta, who started in the number one qualifying position, beat Will Smith. I think that might be John and Rhonda Hartman Smith's kid. I'm just going to work under that assumption. Then Steve Torrance, Justin Ashley, and Ida Zederstrom, who got a 000 light on Tony Stewart and then ran a 380 at 323 miles an hour in the first round. Then beat Kyle Wurtzel in the second round, and then Antron Brown in the semifinal to advance to the final. So that was Top Fuel. In Funny Car, saw Matt Hagan get the victory over Jack Beckman. Austin Prock got a loss to Beckman in the second round. Matt Hagan was the number 2 qualifier, beat Alex Laughlin, Cruz Pentragon, Daniel Wilkerson to get to the final. Beckman beat Spencer Hyde, Prock, Chad Green in the semifinal. In Pro Stock Car, Greg Anderson, the winner over Matt Hartford. Eric Latino was the number 1 qualifier. Greg Anderson started 7th, beat Mason McGahey, then had to beat his teammate Dallas Glenn, then beats Matt Latino, the son of Eric, and then beats Matt Hartford in the final. Hartford from the number 4 spot beat Christian Quadra, Eric Enders, and Troy Coughlin Jr. And in Pro Stock Motorcycle, Gage Herrera beats his teammate Braden Davis. Herrera was number 1 qualifier, had a bye in the first round, then beats Gianna Evaristo in the second round, and Angie Smith red lights in the semifinal. Braden Davis red lit had run a faster, but losing 677 with a 9, but he read 200.53 miles an hour. Braden Davis beat Chris Bostic, who didn't get off the line, and Chase Van Zandt and Richard Gadsden, the other team, the Van Zandt Suzuki teammate. So there you go. The standings moving on, the schedule with just 3 races to go in the season. They'll be at the Texas Motorplex in a couple of weeks. then the second race at Las Vegas, and then Pomona. The standings with 3 races to go. Doug Collette has an 86-point lead on Justin Ashley, and even with the points and a half, that's 3 rounds. So 3-round lead with 12 rounds to go. So looking pretty good at a possible second Top Fuel Championship. Tony now has fallen to 4th in points, 153 points back, 26 points behind Langdon. And he's 29 points ahead of Clay Millican at the moment. So, and 40 ahead of Force. So it's actually close. It's getting kind of close there. He could fall if he doesn't run this thing out properly. He could fall as far back as actually, I think, 9th in points. Should be pretty weak. Austin Prock now has only got a 20-point lead on Matt Hagan, 65 on Jack Beckman, so it's now a 3-driver race in that category. Anderson, with his win and knocking Dallas Glenn out early in the race, now is only 25 points behind Glenn for the pro stock. And then Gadsden is 29 points out of Gage Herrera in pro stock motorcycle, and then 53 points ahead of Matt Smith there. So for pro stock motorcycle. In Moto GP, I mentioned Marquez getting the victory. They'll be in Indonesia this coming weekend. The results, so going into Moto 2, which was at Moto 2, they were at Twin Ring Motegi. I'm pretty familiar, don't see that. So, yeah. So in Moto 2, Holgado was the winner over Jake Dixon, who just announced a new career move for him. Morera rounding out the podium. And yeah, so didn't even, all right. So Joe Roberts ended up crashing out 4 laps into the race, so that's pretty bad. And so the points heading into Indonesia, see, yeah, Gonzalez, man, is 34 points ahead. And Aaron Cannett's 3rd. Baltus and Dixon round out your top 5. Roberts 13th in points, 16 points out of 10th, and 20 points out of 9th. Then in the World Endurance Championship at Fuji, first-time winner with the Alpine team getting the victory, the number 35 car over the Peugeot number 93, and then Porsche making 3 cars, 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. Aston Martin with the Valkyrie finished 5th, and then the Cadillac Hertz Team Joda Sport number 12 was 6th. You had in terms of manufacturers, there were 8 manufacturers in the top 9. So shows the parity in that in the hypercar class. And then the LMGT3 results sees TF Sport Corvette get the win over the AF Corsa Ferrari. And then the Team WRT BMW is the number 31 ahead of the 46. The Manthey Porsche was 5th. Harder Racing Aston was 7th. The Iron Lynx Mercedes was 8th. 1 round to go. It'll be I think that at Bahrain, coming up in a few months' time. Yeah, so then currently the Constructors or World Endurance Manufacturers Championship, Ferrari leads by 39 over Porsche for that. Then the NAF Corsa leading by a decent amount over the 99. Proton for the World Cup for hypercar teams. Drivers' Championship, the 51 Ferrari has a 13-point lead on the 83. And then the 6 Porsche is 21 points back in the drivers. Then the Manti Porsche leads the GT3 teams by 11 over the 21 AF Corsa Ferrari. TF Sport Chevy number 81 after their victory moves themselves up to third. And then the drivers itself, it's the same, mirrors the same standings. The Aragon round for the World Superbikes, Nicolo Balega won the Super Bowl and race 2 to break the string that Toprak Raskatlioglu had of what was 13 consecutive victories. And in the process, Raskatlioglu finished second in both of those races. But now it is 36-point lead for Raskatlioglu over Balega for the World Championship there. Petrucci is only 30 points ahead of Locatelli and 31 ahead of Alvaro Batista. Alex Lowe 6th and 7th, and Garrett Gerloff point behind Scott Redding there, 15th, 16th. And then I had the news there, so we'll go and look at that in a little bit. And then we have F1 Academy. The F1 Academy has just 2 rounds to go. They'll be at Singapore, and then they'll race in late November at Las Vegas to end their season. So 4 total races, 2 rounds. Dorian Pan goes in with a 20-point lead over Woog. And then Chloe Chambers third. Ella Lloyd, Palmosky are top 5. Leah Block in 9th. And as a Courtney Crone, one of the only driver that's run every race this year and hasn't scored a point. So hopefully somewhere along the line she can do so here in the next couple of rounds. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, so we will move forward to the Grand Prix of Singapore. It's always a chaotic kind of race. It's where Crashgate happened many, many years ago. One of the greatest laps in the history of Formula One in terms of qualifying was Lewis's pole lap there many years back. Had some epic crashes there for sure. Early in races, we've also had dominant performances from the likes of Lewis and Fish Lips and whatnot. But does, I guess we have to go to the picks here. So Josh went first. Do I think that Fish Lips continues his run of races here, or does it go back to McLaren? Singapore F1, Singapore Grand Prix. Phil is going to go with Oscar Piastri because, of course, I'll say Piastri, Verstappen, Norris as my podium. My wild card pick, I will. My wild card picking is a very wild pick. It's just to be on the bottom end of the points is Ollie Bierman because he's shown well on street circuits over his short career. Josh, are you thinking? Are you looking at the Fish Lips after his triumph at the Nordschleife, or and to continue his momentum, or do we see it come kind of back to the usual situation with the McLarens going out in front?
Yeah, I don't think Max is going to be able to parlay that momentum from the GT3 run at the Nordschleife to be able to win in F1 this week. But I'm going to say that Landon Norris actually pulls out the win rather than Oscar Piastri there. So yeah, Lando and then Piastri and then I'll say Verstappen. So
Solid safe works. And we'll see what Lewis can do after in the first race since his dog Roscoe passed away. So we'll see if that kind of gives him a little extra fire and drive in what has been a very difficult year for him in his transition to Ferrari. And also, you look at Carlos Sainz after what was a interesting weekend and great weekend for him at Azerbaijan. It's a totally different type of street circuit. We'll see what Williams can do there for the smooth operator. We'll go to the triple header for NASCAR's three major series for elimination races. There are 36 trucks for 36 spots. The Eco Save 250. Brent Cruz driving the one for Tricon. 02 doesn't have anybody listed. Some Connor Fartuk for Reum. Think he's some sort of Trans Am driver. Connor Zilic driving for Spire in the 7. Chris Wrong driving for McAnally Hilgeman. So he'll be at least one caution. Will Rogers driving for Youngs in the 20. Maggio driving for 33. Balicki driving for Nice in a Circle B truck. And that's Slimp in the 62 for Halmar. Friesen 69 for Derek White, and the MBM truck for Carl Long. Parker Kligerman running for Henderson Motorsports. Yeah, that's what is different from what has been the recent field. Josh, you get first dibs here. Trucks don't do a whole lot of road racing, so this opens the door for those one-off guys. Is it Zilich or are you going Field?
Yeah, I mean, it's a interesting question there. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm take Connor Zilic here. Here at the Roval. I mean, you almost can pick Corey Heim, but he did win at Watkins Glen. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Connor Z here on the road here for Team Spire here, and then I guess wild card. Parker Kligerman.
Yeah, you got yourself covered both ways. That I think if I wasn't going to pick Corey Heim, which I was gonna pick Corey Heim just cause, I would have hedged with like Parker Kligerman as like my third choice. So so I'm going Corey Heim, and then my wild card choice for this weekend will be Brent Cruz, because why not? He's won on multiple road courses. He's got a lot of talent. So part of that whole friendship crew there. So I'll say Corey Heim win and Brent Cruz wild card. So a full Tricon garage selection there. The Blue Cross and North Carolina 250, 42 cars for 38 spots. So 4 vehicles will go home. LeBay driving for SS Greenlight in the 07. Connor Mozak driving the 9 for JRM. Daniel Hemrick driving the 11 for Colleague, waiting for the next 2 weeks. Corey Day driving for Hendrick in the 17. Eric Almirola in the 19. That'd be a Casgras in 24. And the Andrew Patterson 32 for Jordan Anderson Racing. Austin J. Hill for Joey Gase. Oh god, yeah, Josh Williams actually driving 45 for Alpha Prime. Preston Pardis, limited races, of course, driving for himself, for his own team. Steve Addington, the crew chief. Sage Karam driving the 53 for Joey Gase. Then Thomason and Ziada for Cope Family Racing. Austin Green driving the number 87 this weekend for Jordan Anderson. Usually drives the 32. Yeah, there's Honeyman driving an additional DGM vehicle. So, and then D Burrito. So there's 1, 2, 3 DGM truck or cars there, and then for Jordan Anderson, there's 4 cars. So a lot of road course ringers and stuff coming in. My choice is simple. It's Connor Zilic. And then my wild card selection will be wild card selection will be honestly curious as to who would probably stand out in that. Wild card pick. No. And I'll just go Austin Green. I'll assume he makes it, and that'll be my wild card. So NASCAR, Xfinity at the Roval. Phil goes Connor Zillich. Win, and Austin Green wild card. Josh, how about you?
Yeah, I'll go with Justin Allgaier here on the road course to win. So yeah, got him, and oh, pick. Let's see who's here is a good wild card to go with. Um, go with there's a lot of guys. Alex Labay, yeah, go with Alex Labay.
Solid if they can give him a good car and give him some decent pit stops. He's a guy that can get a top 10 finish with that organization. Last but not least is the Bank of America Roval 400. 37 for 40, so no problems for anybody making the race. All the non-chartered, the real non-chartered cars, Josh Balicki, the Garage 66. Trying to go through some of the other people, different sponsors. But yeah, so for me, or you're actually get the first picks actually. So what are your thoughts on? Oh, and we didn't. Oh, you know what? We
The
were supposed to
elimination.
pick the elimination. So, for trucks, it's
They're not an elimination race for the trucks. Because the
oh yeah, that's right. It's the writing is okay. So it's the start of the round of 8 for the trucks actually. So
yeah,
for Xfinity, um looking for the points. I don't know where it went. Yeah, there it is. All right. So what are you just went, so I guess I'll throw back to you in terms of who do you say gets eliminated from Xfinity?
yeah, for me, I think in Xfinity, I think it's pretty easy for the most part. Um, I mean, I think Sammy Smith, I think he gets eliminated. I think Austin Hill's gonna get eliminated. Um, I'm gonna say that Nick Sanchez gets eliminated, but I'm gonna say that Jesse Love makes it in, but Taylor Gray doesn't make it in.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Loss of points for Taylor Gray. Because it is so close, honestly. Um, I agree with the Hill and the Sammy Smith, even though Hill has been solid enough on road courses. Um, and this is all taking into account the notion that Harrison Burton somehow or another makes it in, which is crazy to think considering that organization. So his general lack of ability on road courses, but you know what? Actually, I'm going to pivot on that. I'm going to go with Harrison, Sammy Smith out. I'll say that Taylor Gray will make it, so that's fine. I will even say that Hank Hill makes it. Or no, yeah, no. Do I say Hank? Yeah, okay. So, Carson Quapple falls out for sure. And it'll be Carson Quapple, Frost, and Hill. That's what I think will happen. Sanchez will end up falling short, and Carson Quapple will end up falling out for Hank Hill. So my choices, so drivers eliminated. Are S. Smith, got Burton, Sanchez, and Quapple. Then NASCAR Cup at the Roval. Sorry for the interruption. What are your thoughts on? I mean, I guess for the Cup Series, it's SVG or the field, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but I had this thought since SVG's eliminated now, and I mean, I had this kind of, the thought of, somebody was really desperate, kind of going back to what me and Joe had said or talking about when he was on, but I mean, there's less risk to this that now that SVG's out, but I had the thought that, if SVG's leading and they have like a green white checkered and there's somebody really desperate on the outside looking in, that's willing to do anything to get in, would they take out SVG? Because they're like, oh, like SVG's won all these road races, but we can't let him win this one here. Kind of thinking, I guess, and everything. I'm gonna pick SVG, but I think it's gonna be really interesting if there's like a green white checkered or close late race restart where SVG's in the lead and somebody desperate. I mean, I don't think Bubba would do it. I don't think Tyler Reddick would do it, but like somebody that really needs to make it in. Like Ross Chastain. I mean, he's his teammate, but he might need to win to get in, or Austin Cindric. There's that possibility. Like they're like, oh, we need to make a move here to bump him out of the way or something so that we get into the round of 8. I think that's certainly a possibility there. I mean, maybe not. I mean, Bubba, with the summer shootout, maybe he's gonna be like, I've gotta. Sorry, but I've got to do this. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, that's certainly that's been a thought in my mind the last couple of weeks now that SVG was eliminated. And of course, I had picked him to win this race because it was part of my evil plot that SVG was going to get to the final 4 here by pointing his way through the first round and making it to round of 8, winning here, and then just somehow winning one of the races here in the round of 8. So we'll see. But yeah, I picked him to win. Wild card pick. Go back to the entry list I had because I went away from it. I'll pick. Let's see, who's a good road racer here. On the, I guess. Well, I'll pick somebody that's not a Chevy here, but yeah, I'll go with Zane Smith. Let's see if he can put together a good race on a road course. He had a good run in the truck series and road courses, but yeah, I mean, going off on the wall here to having a good finish here at the Roval.
Decided to bring out the algorithm, huh?
Yeah.
Going and flipping the script on that one. Zane Smith, after he went and soul grinded the wall, now he's gonna go and get a top 10 at the Roval. That would be something. I mean, he's gonna get great. He's gonna get super high odds, anyways. And the Front Row Motorsports team last year was really competitive with McDowell and Gilliland on the road course. So, and Zane Smith has been on an upswing, even with what happened last week. Gillen was able to make up for it. Kansas with the finish, one of the only good finishes he's had all year. I mean, I want to just go and say SVG2, but
I mean, you can. You're free to do it.
it's it. But I'm gonna go and call chaos, and I will go with Tyler Reddick again. I think I went with him last week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did.
So maybe I shouldn't. All right. So no, I can't do it. I was gonna do it. I can't. No. Uh, dang it. Um, can't do that. I'm not doing that either. Um, I was gonna go with Reddick, but I'll still, it's still somewhat off the wall, but not unexpected. This will be a non-playoff driver. I'll go with AJ Allmendinger to get the victory on Sunday, and then or no, actually, I'm gonna go and pivot again. I'll make AJ Allmendinger my wild card, and my pick to win will be um, Chris Bell. There you go.
He's won.
That I can work better.
He's won at the Roval like that before. So yeah.
And AJ Allmendinger wild card. So two former winners of this race are my choices after all of that. And then in terms of drivers eliminated, will be what is it? Where are we at points wise? Currently will be Cindric. Yes, it'll be Wallace and Cindric for sure. I would also say Reddick, so Wallace, Cindric, Reddick. And then the sweat is for Chastain versus Logano. Logano always seems to figure out a way. But I'm going to say no changes. I'm going to say Chastain, Wallace, Reddick, and Cindric get eliminated. Josh, you get the last call here. Is there any deviation from what is currently the points?
No, I don't think so. I think it's gonna stay the way it is, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, but going back to the podcast with Joe, I had said that that Wallace would make it into the round of 8, but then I said that Briscoe would not make it. I said that something would happen, but I don't think anything like that will happen. So I will walk that one back, and I'll say that it stays the same.
If something does happen, I'm gonna puke. That would be it would be akin to what happened. What was it when Cold Custard had to basically go and park on the back straightaway a few years ago,
Oh, for
and he got
Briscoe.
penalized for 100 points for race manipulation to let Jed Briscoe make the round of 8. The fact is, Briscoe had a chance on like late restarts in every single one of the round of 8 races, and in 2022 to possibly make the final four. And then he ran really good at Phoenix too. So yeah, no, I don't need that, but I think I'm gonna be out too. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to catch it or not. We'll see. But hopefully, it isn't that much of a sweat. I hope for my sake. Yeah, so we will move forward here, and Josh, you can let us know what's going on, all things going on in iRacing and gaming in the sim segment.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of uh, screenshots of NASCAR 25 being shown here, and they've shown a lot of the racetracks unveiling what the game looks like or what the tracks look like in the game, and a lot of idealization there because a lot of these screenshots they have sold out crowds. I mean, you got screenshot of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with NASCAR 25 and it's freaking sold out like it's the Indianapolis 500, and I'm like, man, they're really like trying to like paint a pretty picture here. I mean, I think I know it's a default setting, but because I know if they showed realistic crowds, it would damn look real ugly right there. But definitely be an indictment on certain things about the sport. But uh, in terms of attendance and ratings, but um, yeah, and then Kansas. Like I saw a screenshot of Kansas, and Kansas was sold out in the crowds and everything for the game, and I'm like, there's no way we've seen a crowd look like that at Kansas in years, despite them having good races and everything. So, thought some of those screenshots that they've shown where NASCAR has had pretty mid tier sparse crowds at some of these races in recent years, look like that. So, yeah, I mean for that, I mean, yeah, a couple weeks away from NASCAR 25. So obviously, people looking forward to this game releasing and everything. So looking forward to that. Hopefully, I'll be able to play. Got to fix some issues with my PlayStation and everything. So trying to get that resolved here, there. But then also, I guess another sim racing news, got the iRacing arcade game coming out soon, which is called iRacing Arcade currently. But some more information came out with that. It looks like it's going to be kind of a mix of iRacing, Mario Kart, and this game called Sim City. So very cartoonish version of iRacing, I think, but should maybe hopefully get some of the real casuals involved, but in real young crowd that might not be able to comprehend sim racing yet, and everything, and kind of steer them towards that avenue so that when they want to get more into it, they'll download iRacing and learn how to play or how to sim race and all that. But looks interesting there, and might have to get that game too later on. But we'll see. But for me, excuse me there. But yeah, for me on iRacing, I did some Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course racing here this weekend in GT4 class. Did actually win one of the races I entered, so third win 2025 on the road course, which I have not won on an oval yet this year. So I'm on a really bad dry spell right now on the oval side, but I'm very close in the road side to getting my A class license here and on iRacing. So hopefully can pick that up soon. Gonna have to level up here to be able to compete in the A class series on the roadside. So really been improving here on the roadside lately, and picked up a couple of podiums as well, in addition to the win there at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course there. So yeah, good for me there. Oval side. Did I don't even think I ran in, because I was wanting to do Kansas. I don't have Kansas actually, but I kind of wanted to do it, and I didn't download the track because I wasn't on my priority list there. But yeah, this week iRacing is at the Roval, the Roval for all three series. So yeah, for NASCAR. So that should be interesting, and might be a good opportunity, especially NASCAR Class A, I think, should be able to pick up some points there for because I think it does count towards you have to have oval participation class there, but A class, but it counts towards the road sports car side of things for the rankings there. So got that there. Um, let's see what else on the horizon there for iRacing. Looking at, um, yeah, GT3 is at the fixed challenge at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, aka Mexico City. Cars Tours at Martinsville. BMW M2 Cup at Circuito de Navarra. Ferrari 296 Challenge at Indianapolis. There. IndyCars Oval Series at Texas here. Rainmaster at the IMS Road Course there. Supercars series at Watkins Glen. 87's cars at Talladega, so that should be interesting there. The Indy NXT Oval Series at Texas Motor Speedway. Last week they were at the Charlotte Motor Speedway there on the Oval. Let's see what else here. Ford Mustang Challenge, which I don't think anybody participates in, but Ford Mustang Challenge at the Kansas Speedway Road Course. Haven't seen that one really ever on iRacing there. The GT3 Regional Tour Americas at Carlos Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. GT3 Regional Tour Europe at Brands Hatch, and then the Asia Pacific Regional Tour is at Fuji International Speedway there. ARCA Series at Darlington. Let's see what else. The Prototype Challenge at Road Atlanta, probably more than likely for Petit Le Mans there. Yeah, and then Cup at, Gen 4 at Echo Park Speedway, Cup at Charlotte Roval 2025, which I'll say about the Roval, the hairpin doesn't look as straightforward as what maybe it looks like on TV. It's definitely not like a straight 180 corner, so you kind of have to you kind of go into that turn kind of at an angle from the previous corner. So it just seems like a corner designed for NASCAR to have chaos at, and I think we did see some of that last year on the Roval, and certainly, I mean, I haven't actually. I think I did race a couple times last week or the week before last on the Roval on iRacing, and it definitely seemed like a corner that a lot of stupid things could happen if you lock the brakes up in that corner. So kind of like the one before where it was a little bit more straightforward back onto the turn one of the oval there at Charlotte, but nevertheless. So yeah, definitely try to stream if possible, probably a Talladega race at the very least on iRacing, and maybe some other ones if got the time for it to be able to do that. So it's always streams at Twitch TV/USailor2, and go in there and watch the iRacing streams. Of course, Twitter page, probably talking a lot of trash here about the Jags and other things at JP Helpline there on Twitter, and then of course Grip Strip Podcast YouTube page on YouTube. Of course, go in there, subscribe to their, of course, photography page at JP Helpline Photography for all that. Probably have to start posting more pictures now for that. So got that there to look at for all that stuff. So yeah, good win for Jags this week. Decently exciting race for NASCAR, of course, and yeah, looking forward to talking about all the eliminations here and talking about Jags on Monday Night Football next week.
And we'll probably be live streaming that too, so that'll be good to talk about it as well. Also talk about our fantasy matchup too, first of the year. So first of two matchups we'll have, and we'll talk all about that. F1, Singapore, NASCAR, triple header, and everything else. It's gonna be a busy week, leading into a busy week of motorsports the following week. Next week on episode 6 of the GSP, there'll be you got Petit Le Mans. We'll have the Bathurst 1000. World Superbikes in Estoril. So at a couple of majors there, along with World Superbike. So that'll be that in terms of the racing. But yeah, you can find us, of course, at Gripstrip Pod, the Gripstrip Podcast YouTube page, or at Gripstrip Podcast on Twitter. You can find the Gripstrip Podcast at podbean.com and on philipgmatthew.com. And you can also, as I'm trying to multitask here, find the Gripster Podcast at GSP1428. You can find me at PGMatthew28 on Twitter, Instagram PGMGSP28. And yeah, with that, thanks as always, man, for your great work and great insights every episode, and for all the work that you're able to do on back end of the show, and for uploading and everything on the video side, and all of the great talent, and for your Jags going and maybe waking up the 49ers, some of them guys that probably needed a wake up call early in this season, resting on their laurels after a 3 start. So thanks for everything as always, brother. And we will be back for episode 286 of the Grip Strip Podcast to talk about everything that went on and whatever else that comes to mind here. So for Josh, I'm Phil. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.